Hey, hello, happy VD, everyone. That that's not what I mean. Happy Valentine's Day. I meant VD for Valentine's Day. Never mind. Let's move along. Um, Brought to you today by Reese's Pieces. It's our product placement for the day. You know, E.T., remember E.T.? When they originally filmed E.T., remember when Elliot leaves the trail of Reese's Pieces to lure ET in from the backyard. Well, they originally wanted to use M&Ms, and the M&M Mars company's like, oh, I don't know, this movie about a creepy alien. No, we don't want to be associated with that. In one of the stupidest decisions ever made, because of course ET was a huge movie. Well, guess what? Reese's Pieces, who had just come out like in 1981, they were brand new. No one ate Reese's Pieces. They said, sure, you can have your little creepy dude eat Reese's in the movie, and thus one of the greatest product placements ever. And that was really kind of the beginning of full-on product placement. And now, of course, companies will pay all kinds of money to have their Coca-Cola truck smashed in an Avengers movie or whatever. But hey, if you're interested in placing your product on the Classic Guitar Rock Daily Update, I'm open for it. Dirt cheap. In fact, you know, just give me a candy bar. I mean, I'll product. Why not? We got all kinds of stuff to talk about today, by the way. And we got a great email. I'm looking forward to this email that we're going to talk about. We talked about Robert Plant going on tour with Alison Krauss. Well, there's more Robert Plant updates. He did an interview. So, of course, when someone does an interview, all the rock sites grab this interview. And so there's headlines about this interview for forever. And I latch onto that too. I glom on. I'm no different, right? Robert Plant revealed he was working on new music, but struggling to find lyrics that match what he wants to say about the world today. In a new interview with Rolling Stone, he said he was continuing to explore his personal archive for material to release after his death, and agreed that he'd probably performed Stairway to Heaven for the last time. Remember, for years and years, he wouldn't do it. But then one of the Durans, Andy Taylor, was it Andy or John? One of the Taylors in Duran was doing a fundraiser, and a very wealthy donor was, like donating like in the millions of dollars. And Andy said, Robert, this donor would really love for you to do Stairway to Heaven. It was for a fundraiser. Robert did it. And he said, here's what he said about it. He said it was cathartic. People go, oh, that's good. He never was going to do that, but I didn't really do it. I just blurted out because it's such an important song to me for where I was at the time and where Jimmy and John and Bonzo were. So on that night, it was what it was. It was a trial by fire, but I felt better at the end than at the beginning. So he was not looking forward to doing the song, but he did it. And he said he felt better afterwards. But back to this idea that he's having problems finding the lyrics. He says, quote, I've got a Tascam digital recorder and I sing and I put the vocals through a guitar pedal and then I record them and it sounds great. Why bother to go to the studio? That's the thing, man. The technology today versus back in the 60s and 70s, it's like, okay, what I do here today, right, with the microphone, broadcasting onto multiple platforms at once, you couldn't do that 30 years ago. And if you could, it was thousands and thousands of dollars. And now technology is such, whether you're doing music or podcasting, this is kind of what the email is going to be about. I'm spoiler alert. It's an amazing time we live in from a technological standpoint. And that's what Robert's saying. He says, I go into this recorder, I use effects in this guitar, and it's great. Why go to the studio? But the plot thickens. He continues, but I can't find words. This is a very difficult time to try and wax lyrical out there. Explaining why it was important to keep trying, he added, the camaraderie, the things that you share up there, and the frailties that you know you're carrying with you quietly, the exposure of yourself to yourself is something that I would hate to say goodbye to. I can't just sit back. You know what this is? It's mortality, right? He's sensing, I'm 75 years old. I'm not going to be here a whole lot longer. I think these are probably common feelings. I mean, I'm 56, but I'm beginning to, you start to think about what's going to be here after I'm gone? What am I leaving? What's the legacy I'm going to leave for my kids and people after me? I didn't mean to get all heavy and deep, but yeah, that's what he's sensing right there, right? I think that's a common thing. The veteran singer, who's 75, reported that he was often asked about writing a memoir, but that continuing to move artistically was more important to him. This is spectacular. Why think about it twice? This is today. What happened in Schenectady in 1969 is another story. And for me, the continuum must keep going. Today, I was pulling all my lyric books out and going, got to get the groove back. I've got something to say. So yeah, I'm going to keep going. As long as they've got effects machines that make me sound good. Well, it worked for Elvis. Listen to the compression on his voice on some of those big ballads in 57. Okay. Compression is an effect that goes on vocals and instruments. Common effect. That's what he's referring to. Anyways, it's interesting. Excuse me. I'm going to eat some more Reese's. All right. Now, next, Neil Young and Crazy Horse. Hey, hey, my. They are going on tour. It's called the Love Earth Tour, and it starts April 24th in San Diego. They're going to be making their way east across the U.S., making stops in Dallas, Atlanta, New York, plus one Canadian date in Toronto. Probably some other dates sprinkled in there too. May 23rd in Chicago is scheduled to be the last date of the tour. Now, Neil has also announced a new album, also with Crazy Horse. It's titled Effin' Up. Effin' Up. And so when fans purchase tickets for the upcoming tour, they'll be able to opt in to receive a physical CD copy of the LP for no additional cost. It will be released in limited edition color vinyl pressing on Record Store Day, April 20th, with an all-format release on April 26th. Cool. Legendary German-American heavy metal titans Accept have shared a short teaser for Humanoid. So now they don't just release a video, which is a teaser for the upcoming album. They release a teaser of the video that will be a teaser for the upcoming album. Crazy, right? So you can see this little teaser video for the song Humanoid. The single will drop February 28th, and the album will drop April 26th. The new album will be produced by Andy Sneap. Andy Sneap, of course, produced Judas Priest and toured with Judas Priest as a guitarist after Glenn Tipton stepped down. Okay. Oh, fans can also immerse themselves in the upcoming album on a newly launched interactive website where they can reprogram the robot that is featured on the album cover. Yeah. And one more bit of Accept news. They announced a tour of European festivals and in South America. So they're going on a tour. It's touring season, right? We're going to hear all about tours. They've got Joel Hoekstra, who's filling in. Joel Hoekstra, he was in Night Ranger for a while. I think he was in Whitesnake for a while. He's currently in Revolution Saints. The guy's busy. He's like the Ronnie Romero of guitarists. Great guitarist, by the way. I love Joel Hoekstra. But he's going to be filling in for Phil Schaus. For a while. So I don't know why Phil's not there, but Joel Hoekstra will be filling in for him on some of those dates. Wolf Hoffman, of course, is the guitarist in Accept. This is cool. This is something to aspire to. There's a newly discovered lizard in the mountains of Peru, and they've named it after Iron Maiden's frontman, Bruce Dickinson. So Bruce Dickinson has a lizard named after him. How cool is that? Inyleotis, it's a scientific name. Let's try it. Let's do this together. Inyleoides dickinsoni. Let's do it one more time. Say it with me. Inyleoides dickinsoni was found in the Cordillera de Colón mountain range, 460 miles north of Lima, Peru. The species will be known as Dickinson's wood lizard in English. So now there's a Dickinson's wood lizard named after Bruce Dickinson. How cool is that? That is awesome. Now I've got an email. Just sit back, enjoy this, because this is something that I can talk about for an hour. I won't, but I could. By the way, you can always, I'm gonna put it up. I'm gonna put it up right here. Hang on here. Hang on. Okay, you can always email me at classicguitarrock@mail.com. Anything, questions, comments, complaints, insults, send them all. Want to hear it. Here's the one from today, from Simon. Jeremy, I've been listening to your podcast since you guys first started it a few years back. Here's a kind of behind the scenes question. I am interested in starting a podcast myself, but I don't really know where to begin. Any suggestions? I appreciate any advice or info you can share. Simon. I love this. I love talking about this. Marlon's chimed in. Let's get to Marlon here. Marlon said, sounds like a disease. I think he's talking about the Inyleoides dickinsoni lizard. And I agree. It does sound very disease-like. So, Marlon, thanks for checking in. Back to Simon's question. He wants advice or info about starting a podcast. Now, I learned about podcasts the hard way, right? I just jumped in and did it. Now, full disclosure, I actually, as part of my real job, I produce a corporate podcast for my company. So, and even before that, I had made a few podcasts. But as I started doing it as part of my job as a corporate podcast, that's when I decided, I'm gonna start I've got my. By the way, another big piece of news I forgot to tell you. On this day, February 14th, Valentine's Day of 2014, I launched the worst channel on YouTube. The Classic Guitar Rock channel launched 10 years ago today on YouTube. So if you don't follow us on YouTube and you are not a subscriber to the worst channel on YouTube, what are you waiting for? Okay. Check it out. But that was 10 years ago today. So I digress. I had the podcast. I had this brand, right? I had a blog at one time called the Classic Guitar Rock blog. I have the channel Classic Guitar Rock. And I thought, I'm going to do a podcast about classic rock. So I started. I didn't know what I was doing. I was in the same boat you are, Simon. I was in radio for a decade, so I had a little broadcasting experience, but the everything else I didn't know. How do you start? Well, so I'm going to throw out some advice. It's not the only advice. Other people that podcast might tell you different things. The first place I would start, it used to be called Anchor. Now it's called Spotify for podcasters. Okay. It's the platform for folks that want to have a podcast. Spotify bought out Anchor. Okay. But the platform's pretty much the same. I know some people don't like Spotify, whatever. But here's the deal. There are other platforms you can use, other apps or whatever, other places you can go to make your podcast. The reason I liked Anchor is it was the easiest. Now there might be others that are just as easy, but the nice thing about, and now it's Spotify for podcasters, you upload a podcast and then they put it everywhere else. They don't put it everywhere, but there's a way for you to have your podcast then put on other platforms. So when I upload to Spotify for podcasters, it automatically goes on Spotify. It automatically goes to Apple. I think it automatically goes to Google, but and then you can add other platforms. But if you're on Spotify and Apple and maybe Google, iHeart, those are the big ones, right? And you're going to hit most of the people just by going on Spotify. Okay. So in terms of a platform, that's what I would do. Now, equipment, what do you need for equipment? Well, you got to have a way to record, right? Anyone with a computer now, pretty much, you need a mic, you need a USB. So you either have a USB mic that you can plug right in, or like I use a real, this is a EV RE27. This is a broadcast mic. So this is like radio stations have this type of mic. I got a great deal on one used at a pawn shop. This is about a $500-$600 mic. You don't have to have that. You literally for $100, you can have everything you need equipment wise to do a podcast. Go on Amazon and type in podcasting bundle, right? Everything you need. It'll have a mic. It'll have a USB interface. Everything you need equipment wise is right there. Okay. So that handles that part. Now here's the most important part. What are you going to talk about? Well, here's the mistake a lot of podcasters make. They make a podcast that's about everything. Okay. You have to narrow the focus. Don't broaden it. If you make a podcast about everything, guess who listens to it? Nobody. You have to pick your audience. You have to pick a niche. You have to have a niche. My recommendation, number one, if you're going into a podcast to make money, you ain't going to make money. Okay. Joe Rogan makes money. He's probably the only one, right? If your idea is to make money as a podcaster, I mean, you might eventually make money, but if that's what's driving you, you will hate it. Okay. You will hate it. It's better to pick something you're passionate about and you like talking about, and you narrow your focus, right? I chose classic rock, specifically the guitar-driven rock of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. That's my focus. So once I have a focus, I know then what my target audience is. And you've got to have a narrow focus, not a broad focus. If you try and appeal to everyone, you will appeal to no one. And lastly, here's the most important thing I'd say, Simon. Start now. Don't wait till you're ready. No, because you'll never be ready. And guess what? The first episode you make will suck. That's part of the process. Okay. If you wait till you're ready, you will never start. So today, Simon, here's my challenge for you. Today, you decide, and I'm sure you have a topic. I mean, that's why you want to be a podcaster. There's something you want to talk about. But today, you decide what's my podcast going to be, and you go out to, you don't have to go to Spotify, but wherever you decide, and you start the process. If you need to get some equipment, get your equipment. Don't wait, because if you wait, you'll never start. The key is pick something you're passionate about. People hear that passion, and that is magnetic. People want to hear. People can tell if you're just trying to make a podcast because you want to make money, right? And it ain't going to work, right? So pick something you're excited about and just do it. Just do it. Hope that helps. Again, our sponsor today, Reese's Pieces. Another comment coming in. Eric says, howdy, Jeremy. Alison Krauss and Union Station's Cracker Barrel CD, Home on the Highways, is awesome. If you can find it, buy it. I wasn't even aware of Alison Krauss and Union Station until a number of years back. I bought it on a whim when checking out after breakfast. I don't know if you guys know this. If you go to Cracker Barrel, they have a lot of CDs. I bought Rush, a copy of Rush 2112 at Cracker Barrel. It was awesome. I'm a rocker at heart, but that lady can sing. The two collaborations with Plant are stellar. Eric, I don't know if you caught yesterday's update, but I made the comment that I had caught Alison Krauss on Austin City Limits. And then I saw her on I don't know if it was CMT, it's some type of award show or something. And I said, she literally sings like an angel. I mean, she's phenomenally talented, just a beautiful voice. So I completely agree. And Eric, thank you for checking in. Simon, I hope that helped talking about the podcast. If you ever have any questions, email me again. I'm happy to answer any more specific questions or what else. And Marlon gets the last word. He can do a show about nothing. It'll be huge. Okay. Yeah. It worked for Seinfeld, right? It worked for Seinfeld, but I don't think that works for a podcast. You got to have something, you know? And now that I say that and I think of Joe Rogan's thing is that you could kind of make the case it's a show about nothing, because what does he do? He talks to different people from all different walks of life and things all the time. And it works for him, but most of the time you gotta narrow your focus, pick a niche, and then target everything you do. Your marketing, everything needs to be targeted to that niche. So anyways, guys, sorry to get off track, get away from the classic rock, but that's something that I'm passionate about and like to talk about. If you haven't subscribed to us on X, hey, it's $1 a month. If you're following us on X, you should see a little subscribe button. You click that subscribe button, and then it's $1 a month to help us build our empire. You won't even notice it. It's $1 a month. Thank you so much, guys. We'll do it all again tomorrow. Live long and prosper. Bye-bye.